Over the past week or so, I've been asking you guys for some questions about fashion design if you are studying it, or maybe you're just slightly curious about the kind of things that I get up to. So I've headed to Twitter and Instagram and asked a fair few questions, which I'm going to answer for you in this video. I thought there would be a few more questions than there was, because I know that a lot of my followers do study fashion design or want to study fashion design, but if you have got a question and haven't sent it to me yet, leave it down below and I'll make sure to do another question and answers video soon to answer those for you. So the first question is from Charlie at CharlieLucy on Twitter, and she asked, what is your favourite thing that you've ever made? I don't really like anything that I've made previously, but I think it's because I'm so critical of myself, and because I've had projects for like 2-3 months at a time, I got a bit bored by the end of the project of just looking at the same outfit, so I kind of just fell out of love with it. And for the most part, the outfits I made in college and first year were not good. They were so bad. The one I made last time was alright, but I'm not really a maker, I'm more of a designer. But I did make a turtleneck in my last project, which was just like pale blue. I actually wore it in my last question and answers video, and that I really love. It's just really easy to wear and it actually fits me quite well, so I'm gonna probably wear that myself, even though it's menswear. The second one is from Hayley at Hayley North, and she asked, what's the most valuable thing you've learnt on your course in terms of design, etc. I think the whole process is kind of like something I've learnt. I'm not really sure, because quite a lot of what we do at uni I did actually learn kind of in college, so it's like everything is just like a more in-depth version of, but I think the most important thing I've learnt is probably about tailoring, because drape and stuff is quite simple to pick up, but I think tailoring, because it's so clean cut and everything, like doing the collars and the pockets and stuff, I think that's probably one of the most like valuable things that I've learnt from my course. The next question is from Tash at Tash_Bud, and she asked, did you know how to sew before you studied fashion, and was everyone else experienced? I was quite lucky in the fact that my mum and my grandma have let me use a sewing machine from when I was quite young, so I'd made like really ridiculous things like patchwork hearts and stuff, but I'd never really made anything substantial. So when I started college I didn't have any clue really how to sew, but they taught me quite a bit. When I went to uni we still like kind of went back to basics. Like a lot of the people on my course couldn't sew or hadn't really sewn before, because you do get people that have come from art backgrounds as well as fashion, so I'd say that I wasn't that experienced when I started college, but I had a little bit of knowledge when I started uni. But no, everyone is not experienced. There is quite a lot of people who aren't, although you obviously get the few that do know how to sew already. Tash at It's Simply Beauty asked, what has been the best year at uni so far and why? I'm in my second year now, so I'd say probably this year, because I feel like every year we're at uni we just learn so much more, and this year's a lot more exciting. We've had better projects, and the fact that we're going on placement is also a big thing, so I'd say yeah, probably this year. In terms of like doing tailoring and drape and things like that, I just prefer much more the way that the teaching's done this year, because obviously first year is a lot about learning how to do things, which is quite boring for the most part when you're learning how to do seams, but this year we've been given a lot more freedom. Courtney, who is at Courtney Jr., asked, what's a normal day like at uni and what do you get up to? I'm actually thinking about filming my way through my third year final project, so hopefully you will be able to see what a normal day is like then. But on the most part, I go to uni about 3 to 4 days a week. We have one day that's like art history, so you just have one lecture learning about fashion and history and like popular cultures and things like that. Then we have 2 to 3 days which is split between like fashion illustration and design workshops and making workshops and things like that. It depends per project what we really do. We don't really do much drawing and stuff in lessons, like all our research and stuff is done at home, mostly over like Christmases and stuff. So when you go back into uni, all you're really focusing on is designing and developing fabrics and playing around with mannequins and just developing your research further, and obviously making when you get to it with the teacher's help. We do have quite regular tutorials with our teachers so that we're on track and stuff. Sky at Sky Sahara asked, what was your induction day like? I can't really remember my induction, if I'm honest. I know that we had a day in the lecture theatre where we were listening to like the kind of things that people had gone on to do, what we'd be doing in the uni, what we were expected to be like, our uni on the league tables, that sort of thing. And And I think it was just sort of like gradual, really. Like the first few weeks I think all we did was like make some seams and stuff, and our very first project at uni we didn't actually make anything, we just did like we did the sketchbook research stuff. Like they tried to build up our research skills before we actually made anything, which was good. But yeah, I'd say it was actually quite alright. Like we didn't really get thrown into like you have to go make something now, which I thought we would. And then Sky also asked, how much on average do you spend on toiles and final garments? All I'm going to say is a lot. I try not to count how much I'm spending. I'd say that I easily rinse my bank account each month from uni, and I do a lot of overtime at work, so I'd say probably quite a bit. The fabrics that we're expected to source are quite expensive, so you do have to really consider like if you're 100% going to need things and stuff, because it is a really expensive course. Like I'd be lying if I told you that fashion was not an expensive course. It's probably the most expensive course hands down that you could do at university, especially design, because the fabrics and stuff are just so expensive. On average I'd say, depending what I make my toiles out of, I'd say if it's out of calico, we get calico quite cheap at uni, so I'd probably say I spend about £30 on calico. Depending how many times I have to remake the toile and how big it is, because obviously the bigger the garment the more fabric you need. For the actual project, like sketchbooks and materials and stuff, I'd say probably about £50 a project, because sketchbooks are quite expensive and you obviously need a lot of pages and fine line pens and things. And for final outfits it really depends how much I'm making. My last project cost me about £100. But I did make a jacket, a trousers and a jumper, and I did try and make them as cheap as possible. But yeah, I'd say a few hundred per project. Yeah, third year I'm hoping to have saved like £3,000 or £4,000. Yeah. Oh, and another thing I thought I'd throw into this question is, if you are thinking about studying fashion at uni, save money before you go. I literally can't stress this enough. I am kicking myself because I didn't save money before I went to university, and I know that I really should have done, because this course is so expensive that if I'd have saved money in the first place, it means that I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in now where I'm having to do so much overtime at work. I'd much rather have just done the overtime before I started uni and had more time to actually do my projects. And then Emma Ray asked, I've always imagined that if you study fashion it would ruin the fun and spontaneity of it. Did that happen for you? No. With my blog and stuff I look at the more high street and like personal style kind of things, whereas at uni I study the trends, I study what's coming up on the catwalk, I study like, it's a completely different kind of fashion even though it's all under the same thing. Like with my blog and stuff I'm a lot more what I personally like and what's on trend for people my age and things like that, whereas at uni it's a lot more about like pushing boundaries and thinking outside the box within a trend. But I honestly wouldn't say that it's ruined the fun and spontaneity of it at all, because fashion isn't spontaneous in the slightest. Like the collections that you're seeing at this fashion week coming up have been planned from like 6 months ago, so it's not spontaneous, it is all planned out and thought out, and it's just, I don't know, I just don't think that will ever be ruined for me. Fashion is something that I'm so passionate about and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. It's pretty much the only career path that's ever excited me and made me genuinely happy, so I don't think it could be ruined at all. And the last question that I got quite a lot was, have I found my niche and what I stand for yet? At uni obviously it's about finding your niche. That is the whole point of being at uni, to find out like who you are and stuff. I would say that I've definitely discovered like what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. That doesn't necessarily mean that I've found my niche yet, but I think I did originally go into fashion thinking that I'd be quite print related and quite over the top, but I've realised that I'm maybe not the best person at print, and that's probably something I shouldn't maybe go into. But I am quite commercial as a designer. I'm not one of these really outgoing crazy people. I'm the kind of person who would probably design things that men would just wear on an everyday basis. So I suppose that is kind of my niche, but I don't want to limit myself just yet, and I don't want to sort of like put myself in a box of this is who I am. I want to keep developing myself through the rest of this year and next year when I'm on placement and stuff, and then hopefully I will realise what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I will find my niche. So that was my question and answers. I have done a previous one which is all about like internships and fashion design again. If you wanted to check that, I'll leave the link down below for you because I did answer a lot more questions in that one. If you would like me to do another video, I would be more than happy. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions at all about studying fashion design or anything else, my email is down below under personal inquiries. Drop me an email. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about anything that you want to talk to me about. Bye, guys.